That's right. Morning. We're just going to go over to election of chair first. I'll pass over to Tracy.
I haven't got the script either. Good morning. Okay, so we've got 3 people here today. Can we elect a chair, please?
Nominate Councillor Emily Strudwick.
Is that okay?
Perfect. Morning. Right, now I don't have my usual script, so it's about fire regulations. If you signed in, sign out, and then we meet at Queen Victoria statue. I will read out the, thank you, Lee. Members of the public are permitted to use both audio-visual recording devices and social media during this meeting, on the understanding that it neither disrupts the meeting nor records those stating explicitly that they do not wish to be recorded. Guidance on the use of devices at meetings open to the public is available on the council's website and posted on the wall. Hopefully that knocking stops at some point. Perfect. My name is Councillor Emily Strudwick, as we've just noticed, and I'm going to go around and do introductions. I will start with Lee, if that's possible.
I am Councillor Lee Hunt, quite happy to be here today, and I'm also the Cabinet Member on the City Council for Community Safety.
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Stuart Brown.
And then we will go around the table.
Good morning. Tracy Blair, Legal Advisor.
Good morning. Derek Stone, Principal Licensing Officer.
Good morning, it's Alessio.
Paul Drysdale, the licence holder at 31 Osborne Road.
I'm Samantha Funnell and I am here on behalf of Universal Property and Investment. We're the managing agent for the flats at Osborne Road.
Could you ask people just to pull the
absolutely.
mic slightly towards them?
Alison Harper, I'm Local Democracy Officer.
Thank you. Right, so I know, Paul, you haven't been to one of these before, so I'll just explain. Have you got one of these things in front of you? Perfect. So what's going to happen is we've done the introductions. We're going to go to Derek, who will open, and then we're going to go to the applicant's case, so why it's been brought here, and then it's going to come to you last, so you get your final say, all right? Perfect. Derek.
Yeah, good morning all. So this is a review hearing for Paul's Bar, 31 Osborne Road, Southsea, and that, as you've heard, the holder of the premises licence is recorded as Mr Drysdale, who's here this morning. The application and grounds for the review are attached to Appendix A and has been submitted by Sam Funnell, Universal Property and Investment, who is representing the tenants living above, and it relates to late night noise at the premises under the following licensing objective, which is the prevention of public nuisance. Information regarding reported noise complaints to local authority have also been provided. So a bit of background, members. 31 Osborne Road, in 2006 it became the last Viceroy Indian restaurant. It was licensed then, and in 2010 the premises closed and the premises were then transformed, turning it into the Vintage Tea Rooms and Art Gallery. In 2015 the premises licence was again transferred and the premises then traded as the Tea Tray in the Sky, which was a cafe type sort of restaurant. On the 23rd of April 2021 the premises licence was transferred into Paul's name as both the licence holder and the designated premises supervisor. Paul's Bar, if you don't know it, is a relatively small bar. It has bifold style glass door entrance, and at the front of the premises there's a bar area, and at the rear is a dance floor area. A copy of the current premises licence is attached at Appendix B, and in accordance with the Act and prescribed regulations, public notice of the review application was given both at the premises and also at the civic offices. In addition, a notice of the review application was posted on the council website. The review application was also served on all the responsible authorities. There are no representations from any of the responsible authorities. However, there is a history of engagement by Environmental Health regarding reported noise complaints at these premises, and we've received in total 6 representations from residents living above, and you can see those attached at Appendix C. When determining the review application, members, you know you have to have regard to the promotion of the licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm, the Licensing Act 2003, the adopted statement of licensing policy, judgments of the High Court, and your legal advisor is here to give you some guidance on that should that be necessary, the current statutory guidance issued by the Home Secretary in accordance with section 182 of the Act, and at paragraph 220 there's quite a lengthy piece in this in relation to what public nuisance is defined under the Act. You've also got to take into consideration human rights of all parties concerned, public sector equality duty regarding the need to have due regard to eliminating unlawful discrimination, harassment, victimisation, etc. Paragraph 11.1 of the guidance sets out the review mechanism in relation to premises. And at 11.2 it says that at any stage following the grant of a premises licence, a responsible authority or any other person may ask the licensing authority to review the licence because of a matter arising at the premises in connection with any of the 4 licensing objectives. And as you've heard, this is today under the public nuisance category. Paragraph 11.19 says, where the licensing authority considers action under its statutory powers is appropriate, it may take any of the following steps. That is to modify the conditions of the premises licence, an alteration or omission of any existing conditions, you could reduce hours, etc., etc., exclude licensable activities within the scope of the licence, remove the DPS, for example, if you thought that that was the issue around poor management, suspend the licence or revoke the licence. The only other bit I just need to point out to you is part of your deliberations, members, when dealing with live music, members, you need to consider also section 177A of the Licensing Act, and your legal advisor can assist you with this should that become necessary. This adds a new section dealing with live music taking place in premises authorised to be used for the supply of alcohol for the consumption of on the premises. Its effect is that existing conditions on a premises licence relating to live music will have no effect where the requirements set out in section 177A, 1A to C are satisfied. However, on a review of the premises licence, an existing condition related to live music may be made effective by altering it to include a statement that section 177A does not apply. In addition, at a review licence hearing, you may add a condition relating to live music as if the live music were regulated entertainment authorised by the licence, and that condition shall be effective. I don't think I need to add any more, members, unless I can assist you further, but I'll obviously be here throughout the proceedings to assist where I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
Rocky, thanks for the introduction there. Having read the papers this morning, I've just got a question relating to the existing licence and particularly around the hours of the licence. When that licence was granted with the 3 AM opening times, was that determined by a subcommittee or was that done under officers' delegated authority? Do you know?
It wasn't as a result of subcommittee. It was just a granting as a normal request.
And I don't know if you were involved with that one at all. If you were, you might know the answer to this. If not, you might not. But do you know if there were any reasonings or justifications for those particular hours being granted?
No, I wasn't involved and I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Members first, and then we'll come to you. That's all right.
So I've read the report, and in there it says that the reason we've got to this stage of a review, it talks about cooperation, trying to resolve things before we even get here. Is that the case in this particular matter? Has Mr. Drysdale been asked to do things which would have prevented us coming here today?
There has been engagement, and Mr. Drysdale can enlarge upon that. As you'll see, some of the information supplied to Sam from Environmental Health shows some engagement with Mr. Drysdale. There have been meetings with Environmental Health, and Mr. Drysdale did put in various measures to try and mitigate some of the complaints that are being made.
Right, just if I may expand on that, do we know what was expected to be done? Is there anything written down, or any list of things that the licensing authority has asked them to do in order to resolve
Yes,
some of the issues?
There is a note that in the 12th of September there was a noise complaint, and I know for a fact that Environmental Health engaged with Paul at the premises. He introduced extra measures which were to make sure that there was a duty manager at work at weekends. SLA were on weekends. New doors were to be installed at the front. TVs were to be turned down, and noise walkabouts were supposed to have been conducted every 30 minutes. And I'm sure Paul can expand on that when he gets to speak.
Yeah, if I continue this vein. So the statements, in the statements, people complain about the beat and the noise volume and the pounding or the vibration going into the premises above. What I'm trying to get to, Mr. Stone, is have they tried to put any kind of noise attenuation measures like soundproofing, all these sorts of things that would may stop some of the noise leaking upstairs? And since you talked about the bifold doors, do you know if those new doors have been put in at all?
Firstly, no, I'm not privy to any control measures that have been put in regarding sound prevention, and I can't comment on the doors. I think the doors have been changed, but again, Mr. Drysdale can assist you with that.
All right, I expect Ms. Funnell will as well.
Derek, the 3 a.m. opening, has that always been in place since 2016? I might have missed it, but the 2006, I think it was, or was that a new addition in 2021?
In 2007, it went to 02:30 in the morning, to 3 a.m. in the morning. So back in as early as 2007, the licence was granted to 3 a.m.
Do we know if there was any comments about these times being changed at the time? Was there anyone put any representations in?
There was a representation, but bizarrely enough, that was because there was another application where they wanted to start earlier in the morning instead of 12 o'clock. They wanted to open at 10 o'clock, and there was an objection in relation to that, but it's not significant to the late hour, if that helps.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, on this 3 a.m., drill down into this. Now, is this a legacy type of agreement that it's so 2007 open till 3 o'clock at an Indian restaurant or something like that, if that's what it was back then, is quite different to its purpose later on, for example, and that seemed to happen a lot.
It can happen. As you know, premises will change, and they will change the style of trading. What often happens is the existing licence remains. It's just changed in name. So it would have, as you say, started off as an Indian restaurant with a late hour, and obviously Mr. Drysdale was able to take advantage of that when he took over the premises.
May I further ask then, if when the application to do this new premises licence for Mr. Drysdale, would there have been any opportunity for the panel back then to bring the hours back to say 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or whatever, or did they have to stick to what was already decided?
No, it was just a straightforward transfer, so it wouldn't have had the opportunity for anybody to object to it.
Perfect. Any more questions, members? No? Do you have any questions for Derek?
At present, no.
Do you have any questions for Derek?
No.
No? Perfect. I'm going to move on to you now to do yours.
Well, as I've said, I'm working for the managing agent, and we manage the flats above the bar. So we've been receiving complaints, but they've also made complaints directly to environmental health as well about the noise disturbance. All of the tenants were made aware before they moved in that there was a bar below. We do make a point of that. But I believe that the main issue is just the hours. They are accepting of the bar being there, but it's the 3 a.m. is the real issue. And it's the fact that obviously, even if you stop at 3 a.m., you have to allow time for people to leave the premises. People are still cleaning up inside and playing music, so it's actually carrying on longer than 3 a.m. And obviously, they're all very upset because it's causing them a lot of disruption to their daily lives. So because they've made the complaints to us, that's why we've put the review in, because obviously they're all in individual flats. I'm just checking if there's... Yeah, I think the main issues we had as well was we weren't 100% confident that the conditions within the licence were being upheld and that everything was closing down at 3 a.m. Okay.
Members, I'll let you go first. Yeah, Lee?
Can I draw your attention to that on there? Yep. Yours is in colour. Very nice. So on the 13th of June...
Paul, have you got yours? Perfect. I just wanted to double check.
Thank you. On the 13th of June 22, it says complainant number 5, loud music from Paul's Bar until 0300, and a noise abatement notice was served on Cagapert Limited, and Mr. Drysdale was the director. And then, literally 4 weeks later on, the company was dissolved. So, apparently the notice was void from that day, as the company no longer existed. Did that surprise you, or...?
No. In the time that Paul Drysdale has had the licence, there have been lots of different brands of the bar, so that wouldn't surprise me.
And the net effect then is to just stop anything that the enforcement authority was doing around noise until they established a noise nuisance later on. Would that be about? Perhaps the legal advisor would want to comment on that. So if the abatement notice was served, and then the company dissolved literally 4 weeks later on, that stops any attempt by the enforcement authority to deal with noise from the premises?
I'm not completely aware of the effect of that, but because my colleague would normally have dealt with any prosecution under the noise abatement notice, but ultimately the person responsible will be whoever's named in that abatement notice, so it depends on the exact wording of the abatement notice as to who it was served on.
So if it had been served on Cagapert Limited and Paul Drysdale, it would have gone further.
Sorry. I imagine that they may have been able to take prosecution or further action if there was a joint 2 people named and the noise continued and was proven to continue. Obviously, that would depend on the evidence available at the time.
All right. All I see is now that on the 3rd of February 25, there's loud music from Soul Bar. Is that to do with this premises? I mean, they talk about, goes on and talking about Martha's and Soul's. What's all that about?
The premises has had various names. I think when Paul first started it was referred to as Paul's Bar, and then fairly recently it became Martha's at Paul's, and more recently it's now become Soul Bar, but it's still the same building and same bar, if that makes sense.
Can I ask the both of you, does this just make it difficult to or frustrate rather any attempt to serve noise abatement orders or any other enforcement action, or does it not make any difference at all?
It shouldn't do. Once they've established who the owner is, who the legitimate licence holder is, then then it wouldn't frustrate anything as far as environmental health is concerned.
All right, well, I can ask Mr Drysdale that question when it comes along.
Yeah.
Samantha, thanks for coming along this morning, and I understand that you're representing the residents of the 3 flats above the premises. To your knowledge, have any of your representees mentioned or noticed any noise abatement measures being installed, like soundproofing between the ceiling of the venue and the floors of the flats, or the changes to the doors? Have any mitigations been mentioned by
The
them?
tenants haven't mentioned it. I was made aware that when refurbishment was taking place in the bar, soundproofing was being installed between the bar and the very direct above flat, but it doesn't seem to have been very successful. And I think the doors have been changed since that conversation.
And obviously your tenants have engaged with environmental health. I believe in one of the representations they mention a recording device. Do you know if any decibel level readings or sound clips have been submitted to environmental health as evidence?
As of last week, they had not submitted anything.
What soundproofing measures have been done to the flats?
There hasn't been anything directly done to the flats, so the only soundproofing that was discussed was going to be in the ceiling of the bar directly below the first floor flat.
I'm just thinking because obviously this licence has been around for a while, so I would probably expect at least that flat to have had some soundproofing done itself rather than just the bar. So I'm just trying to see if...
The contractor that I believe Paul was using actually works for the landlord as well, so I believe at the time they were looking at both options, and as I said, I know some work was carried out, but it doesn't appear to have been as effective.
Yeah, go.
So it's slightly relevant to this, I think. Do you know the entire building as a whole, is that owned by one person, or is the bar and the flats owned separately?
So the building is actually owned by one landlord,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the bar is sublet to Mr Drysdale and the flats are sublet to your property management company, or...?
The bar is sublet to Paul and the flats are still owned by the landlord but just managed by us. Okay. Yeah.
I think I'm still trying to... Only because obviously this licence has been around for a long time, and I appreciate you obviously letting them know that there's premises like that could be open till 3 a.m. So I'm just trying to see what you... Obviously, it seems that Paul's doing stuff, but I'm just trying to see what you have done to the flats itself, not his between him and that. I'm on about the flat above.
No, the landlord hasn't done anything in the actual flats themselves, yeah.
Sam, can I draw your attention to Appendix C, where there's the statements from the people above?
Yeah.
So on page 34, it talks about Victoria Killian. Where does that person live? Do you know?
She's in the very top flat.
Very
so
top.
We've got the bar, we've got a flat that comes across the bar. We've got one that also covers the back of the bar, and then she is above that.
Okay, and in her statement, she complains about the noise of works, which we understand is one of those things, but usually passing. But that she now speaks about until the last few months, and they open on the weekend until 3 a.m. The music is so loud that the lobby of the building physically shakes from loud music. Can I ask you, with your experience of buildings, I mean, we're talking about the music going up through the brickwork and up through the piping and all these other things. Is that where the vibration is carried up through?
Yes, it's the vibration that is causing the problem.
Yeah. And she goes on to say in the last week or two the music got louder than her TV, which do you think could be possible? And she's obviously contacted you as well, hasn't she?
Yes, and she's contacted Environmental Health.
And we've got complaints from every single person that lives above. And they all complain about the same sort of thing, more or less.
Correct.
It is noise and vibration.
Yes. And the hours is the
And
main,
the hours,
yeah.
I beg your pardon. Because on page 32, Mr. Charles Birch Rose
Yeah.
talks about the music blasting at 4:30 a.m. But the premises were shut but he was in there cleaning. So I presume the music stayed on for the enjoyment of the person that's staying behind.
Yeah.
All right. And but they all say more or less, again, on page 31, the person's name is redacted, but it says, it shakes the walls, floors and furniture and makes it difficult to get any sleep at reasonable times. And that's a general complaint?
Yes.
And they've had cigarettes pushed through the letterbox, etc., etc. All right. And then another one, again, is by Fred Bingham. Talks about music played excessively loud volume, causing the furniture in the flat to vibrate. This occurs even when there's very few patrons inside. On this, can I ask you, actually, I beg your pardon if you haven't, but do you know if any of your company or your people have been in to kind of like witness this, or yourselves, or feel what happens at that time of the day? I mean, it is quite late at night, I agree.
No, yeah, we haven't attended whilst it's on at that time in the evening.
All right. Is there anything in those statements you think that you should bring to our attention that I haven't
I think you have covered the
teased
main
out?
things, and I think, again, it's stressing it's the hours that are causing the real issue. They're aware there's a bar, they're aware there are going to be people leaving the premises and the noise even, but it's the timing that is really causing the
All
issue.
right. Marshall, one, but are these all working people, people who go to work?
It's actually a mixture of students and working.
Okay. About half and half, or just...
Probably more students, actually, than working. I'd say the top
But the
floor.
students have got to get up and go to university.
And some of them also work part-time as well, so
Yeah.
they do tend to do shift work.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In these statements made by the residents, only one mentions where they've gone downstairs to speak to obviously the premises, and they've stopped doing what they were doing. What engagement have the residents made with the premises licence holder?
It's not written in the statements, but in conversations that I've had, particularly in the first floor flat, they've said that they have on many occasions gone down to the bar and complained. The previous tenants that were in that flat actually moved their bedroom into the living room because it was continuously disrupting them. But none of them have said, they've all said that when they've gone down, people have told them, yeah, that's fine, we're just closing up, or the music's about to go off, and then they felt that they've been ignored.
So they feel that once they've walked away from the premises, they've not changed anything.
Yes.
Okay. It's just only one of them says, it does mention about hammering, but it says that I marched downstairs to tell them to cut it out, and they did that night, and in the following days they finished at 10. So they did.
So on
looks
that
like they were
occasion-
proactive, so that's why I was just trying. I can't see it in any of these
I
statements.
do
where
think also part of the issue is because it has changed hands again, so it's now Soul Bar. Prior to that, it was Martha's. So the people that are managing the bar have changed in between. So these are new sort of people that they're raising the complaints with.
Right. Okay. Fine. No, that's fine. I'll come to Paul after to try
Okay.
and find out where they've been going. Members, any more questions?
Not from me. Thank
No.
you very much.
Paul, do you have any questions at all?
No, I could alleviate on the structure and the soundproofing, etc. Or is that
Perfect.
later?
We're about to come to you anyway, so
Thank
add
you.
that into your comments. That'd be great. Let me. Perfect. I'm going to go to you to open your case. In your statement, I do like to know what the premises does, kind of what it's about. You know, if it does food, tell me it does food. Like just everything that you could give me about the premises. I'd like
Yeah.
to hear it in the statement as well, please.
Yeah, so took over the premises in 2020. The licence is historic, so those terms, as far as I'm aware, because I was new to the business then, I work as an engineer during the day, this is a side venture for retirement. So long as the licence isn't broken, the conditions continue, you know, so the application was handed from the previous Indian restaurant to the lady, I forget her name, that made it a cafe, And then when she left, the licence was immediately handed over to me. There was no break in the licence. So that's why the licence has been so long in. And obviously that would have been an attractive option for many people, because it's difficult to obtain a licence with certain conditions on it, you know, quite often. Just depending where the area is. I would say that Osborne Road is not just a residential street, it is a commercial street. There's a lot of footfall on Osborne Road, so you will have people coming and going from Osborne Road to Palmerston Road all times of the night. You have takeaways where people are congregating, they'll be coming down, there'll be noise, and you know there'll be outspill from them as well. So not everything 100% is attributable to 31 Osborne Road. You know, yes, there are some, but I would not say it's everything. The soundproofing was done on the initial refurbishment, done in 2021. So it was refurbed from August through to January. From January through to August, and it opened on August. It opened the Victorious weekend. The soundproofing is, it's the thick wall, I forget what you call it, rock wall. It's 130 mil. It's in between every joist, from the kitchen at the back of the premises, all the way through to the front of the premises, and even to the single roof at the front as well. So everything has that in between the joists. That's as much as you can put in there. Then all the joists have a W metal spreader bar. So that actually makes an air gap between the joist and the plasterboard to also give an air gap. And then the plasterboard is the maximum it can be. It's 15 mil. From the front, where it has what I would call a terrace in front of the flats, that there is no building immediately above, say, the first 3 metres of the bar. That has 15 mil of vapour plasterboard, because you have to put vapour where there's nothing above because of the condensation. Then throughout the bar, it's fire, which is also, it's fireproof. So it's fireproof plasterboard, which is also soundproof. So that goes all the way through. That's the soundproof measures. There are 4 speakers in the bar. They're mounted off the wall. 2 of them are on brackets. They're roughly in the middle of the bar. And there's one 3 metres in from the bar, so the noise isn't going directly up above the roof. It was moved because we found that worked better. And there's one at the back. They're mounted on a shelf with soundproofing underneath them, a sort of foam. So there's no physical contact into the walls. It's just pure sound waves. So I understand people have made statements, but I would be concerned that if things were shaking 2 or 3 floors up, it would be absolutely unbearable in the premises. If sound was travelling that far, I would say, I am an engineer, I am a sound engineer, I work for the military. If the sound was that loud there, I don't think you would have patrons in a bar. If glasses and things were vibrating upstairs, it would be unbearable for a human to be around it downstairs. I would say that. Not disputing that there is noise, that there's always noise. I would dispute the level of the noise. The measures we've put in place, when I first opened the bar, I do work during the day. I was around the bar a lot. You know, it was a new venture, and I wanted to be aware of violence and drugs. So these were the 2 things that I was very hot on. So I think twice we've had the police out where we've had a punch thrown, and you know we've taken action against the person that's thrown the punch, because we felt that, you know, it needed a recourse. I put security on the door to stop noise and people congregating and people coming in, with 0 tolerance for drugs. I ran the pub watch for a number of years, of which Derek would have attended. So I used to run that monthly in the bar, and you know, and he would most probably be aware of my actions on, you know, keeping people safe and keeping an environment where people could come and join themselves, not just adults, but children until the licensed hours. You know, for example, we used to give free drinks to the children when their parents were in. You know, we just felt it was somewhere that a family should be able to go as well. And then at night it turned into a more sort of over 25s bar. There was no policy, but the clientele were roughly of that age. We found that there were quieter people and out to enjoy themselves more rather than to be raucous, you know. So we concentrated on the older market along lines with Kingsley's as it was in those days. In fact, we work quite well with Kingsley's. The soundproofing, as I mentioned, is throughout the bar. It's still there now. The doors have been refurbished with seals, etc., to try and cut down the noise. When I first opened the bar, I had some staff in there, some people. I took on professional people that had run bars and clubs for a number of years because it was a new venture to me. But I found that it still wasn't acceptable from a noise level. We worked with the environment, and we closed the doors during the day. So we closed the doors if there was live music on a Sunday or a Saturday. We closed the doors and we moved the singer to the back of the bar rather than the front to stop the noise emanating out of the premises. We agreed with the environment that the TVs, when the music, as we call background music, should be played to a level of 32 on the televisions. So this was the maximum level the television should be played at, and this was acceptable for the licensing hours. The license is 2:30 for alcohol and 3 o'clock for the premises to be open. So it's licensed for 2:30 for alcohol and 3 o'clock for food. So normally 2:30 is the last drink, and people get drinking up time, which would be 30 to 45 minutes, just depending. And also that would change depending on who's in the bar. You know, regularly when I was in there, if we felt that it wasn't conducive to a good night, we would close earlier. We would close earlier because sometimes, especially around festival times, you get groups of people from outside the city that aren't being quite respectable, I would say. We've worked with the environmental team. When we had the noise abatement, the way I look at it is the noise abatement is served on me personally. That's the way I look at it. And I'm a stand-up person, many years service in the military and hold a responsible job now, security clearance. So I have no reason to be underhand with changing businesses. The business is mine, the license is mine. I've stepped away from it because I'm very busy with my day job. And I subleased it to Adam Stevenson, who used to run the Fitzclarence and I forget the name of the bar, he ran a bar up near Fratton as well. He subleased the bar from me. That started in December 2023. And I removed him in May because he was not adhering to what we agreed in terms of how he was managing the noise, because we had a few complaints with him. So I removed him in May, just removed him. Because it wasn't conducive to a good environment. Alexio, who runs Rocker, and his partner, business partner Mario, who runs Algarve, they sublease the bar from me now. It's run as an entertainment venue, so they have sports on the television, and they'll have live music on a Friday and a Saturday. At the moment, the bar is only open Friday and Saturday. It's not open 7 days a week. I will say that. So it's only open at the weekend. And we felt that, you know, to be open later at the weekend was fair because most people, especially students, don't tend to, you know, have to study at weekends unless they're doing extra study. Alexio, once the notice was served on the bar recently for this hearing to commence, immediately ceased any live music in the bar. So we've done that going forward. So the day the notice was served, he had music coming in that weekend. It was prepaid. The music came in on a Friday and a Saturday. Since then, there's been no live music in that bar. I myself, as I said, I used to work in the bar, and I felt when we closed the bar, it was better to clean the bar in the evening than the morning. In the morning, it's too much to clean. It's sticky. It's unhygienic. You've got to deal with the mess at the evening. And we felt, and I feel, it is better to have a small background music going on when you're moving tables and chairs, because a little bit of white noise kind of masks sudden noise, if you understand what I mean. I found that in my experience. If there was not just a small level of noise just while you're moving tables and chairs, the table and chairs actually become more of a noise. It might sound strange, but I just felt a little bit of white noise. You know, so the television would normally be on about a 10 or something. It's very small, just the same as someone would have in their apartment. It isn't very much. They are residential TVs anyway. So they go through the speaker system, but they're tuned down. The environmental noise team, I've worked on them on many occasions. At the moment, it's Lorraine. I can't remember of her previous colleague who used to manage it, but they turned up on a couple of occasions and said, we had a complaint, the music's loud. And I wasn't being argumentative. I said, do you have a figure for the noise? And the girl said, I'm using my ears. I said, that's subjective. You know, I said, I said, what is loud? She said, well, it depends. She says, at the moment, I think it's loud. And I came outside and I said, I can hear rapscallions over my bar, but you're saying my bar's loud. I said, and I said, if you can tell me a level of dBs I'm allowed inside or outside, I will conform to that. I have a device to measure it. And I said, and at the moment, it's about 55 dBs inside. A week later, her manager turned up and he just said, the music's loud. And I said, in what way is it loud? He said, I've had a complaint. I said, are you finding it loud now? And he said, from here, no. And I said, can you please tell me a dB level that I'm allowed? And we will conform to the dB level. And the dB level wasn't forthcoming. It was a noise abatement that was served. They've had a couple of complaints since then. And I've spoken to Lorraine on 2 occasions. She's come in and I've assured her that the doors are closed, the music's to a level. There is no external bass speaker, they're just 4 speakers, so the speakers would not generate a lot of bass. We've done what we feel we have been able to do. Lorraine has stressed to me that she's had a couple of complaints, but she hasn't had, she's contacted me maybe 4 times. And she said, I've had a couple of complaints, Paul, but I don't have any evidence. And I said, okay, well, let us know the nature and we'll see what they are. And she said, it's from the flats above. I said, well, we'll try and do what we can. So we've reinforced that the TV should be at this level of 32 and that they should keep the noise to a minimum when they're cleaning up if they could. I'll just get my thought again there on this.
Take your time.
Yeah. No, I'm just going through the things, the background noise. The being open till the 7th on the 12th of December 2024, being open till 6 a.m. I would dispute that. I don't feel that's a true statement. I don't feel that's a true statement. That bar has had 110s put in the 3 years it's been open, and it was this new year, and it was open till 5 a.m. And the live music was until 4 a.m. We asked for an extension of live music just because it was New Year's Eve. So only once it's been open late in the history that I know, and there was a 10s put in for that. The bar is not a late night drinking venue. It doesn't stay open after hours. It's never the intention. There's no benefit in that because it will just be shut. There's no reason to do anything like that or play that game, and we're not about that. The bar is managed. Alexio's a licence holder himself. He's a responsible person. He has 3 venues in the city. It's in his interest to abide by the rules. It's in my interest to abide by the rules. And I would like more of engagement with the people from the flats above. I don't feel there has been any. I think it's once that they've come down and spoken to the bar manager, and he messaged Alexio, and he said, well, you know, you're closed now, there's nothing I can do. But I don't feel that there has been engagement with ourselves. Lorraine herself said she's not here today because she doesn't have any evidence to say there is noise. All I can say is I feel sorry for the residents that they feel they're in this situation. If they want to engage, I'm happy to engage. I have no animosity towards them at all. I mean, they live there and they have a right to abide there, you know. And I want them to feel safe, and I want their concerns to feel that they're addressed, especially if they're legitimate concerns. You know, I don't want anyone to feel under any stress or undue, you know, undue negativity towards them. The people downstairs are willing to engage with them, the staff in there. We are, myself. So I'd just like to say that going forward. Yes, sure.
just wanted to say, I think it would be, because it has changed hands, it would be good if maybe we could get a contact that we could share with the tenants. So if they are upset, they've got someone they can directly contact.
They can address me personally 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you my contact details.
Okay.
And,
thank
you know, they can come into the bar and talk, or I can meet them somewhere neutrally, you know, if they feel it's not a place where they want to come into. You know, some people are different, but I'm willing to engage to them at all levels to alleviate their concerns, and also for they can bug me, it's the wrong word. They can get me any time. You understand? You know,
Yeah,
and
thank you
I
for that.
reassure you that. I
Okay.
reassure you that.
Paul, do you have any more to add?
No, in terms of the licence, this is your profession. You look at the city as a place, and you decide what goes on in the city. I feel a review of the licence during the week would be fair. The weekend is potentially where the business makes money. You know, I have a substantial amount of money vested in that business to this day. It's still costing me money. I'd like to try and get a return on my investment. The property is solely owned by Caution Properties, so I lease it directly from them. I have a 10-year lease that started in 2020 with an option to renew for a further 5-year extension from my side of a wish. I've just gone past the 5-year break point from my point if I wanted to get out, but because I haven't had a return on my investment, we will be planning on opening food soon. The issue we moved in, we were told there were all utilities and thereby flued. Turned out there's no gas into the building at all, so I've had to restructure the building after fitting gas appliances and buying them. I've had to rewire the building again to put more electricity into the back, and we're just in the throes of trying to get the kitchen commissioned. But as you can understand, it's an expensive venue. Most of these things are. When I first opened, I was heavily staffed. I had 12. The business wasn't coming in, so I funded them out of my personal salary. You know, and they've gone down. That's why I've subleased it now. I've subleased it to people because, for example, Lexio, he has staff in his restaurant. He can spread them across a couple of businesses more cheaply than I can directly employ people. So I find that works, and the aim is for Lexio to have this bar for 4 years. He's in a year into that in August, and then we'll review the situation from there. But I'm sorry that we're here today using all of your time, and with the residents above, I want to try and engage with them. I'm willing. See if we can alleviate their concerns, meet a middle ground, and see if we can address their concerns fully. You know. Other than that, I have nothing else unless you have some questions for me. Thank you. Sorry if that was a ramble. It's just I was trying to process it all and go through it.
Honestly, it's absolutely fine. I'm just going to touch on it really quickly because you mentioned about the opening times, and you said you were happy for during the week for it to be slightly. Could you tell me what you would be happy with, just so it's on the table?
In line with other venues down there, so I think 11 p.m. would be absolutely acceptable. You know, maybe last orders 10:30, 11 a.m. I'd be happy with that. But I think it's fair that the weekend has a slightly later, because I know other bars have increased their licences later at weekends in the last couple of years, because that's where the trade is, and it would be a very bad effect on the business if they weren't in line with the other bars along the street, because you don't have the competitive edge. And I feel that the venue is a safe venue. We've not really had any trouble there. We have good relationship with the police, have good relationship with licenses. And as I said, when I was in the bar, I actually ran the pub watch. You know, so I do take an active interest in people's safety, you know, that are using the venue and the wider residents and public around the venue. And that's one of the main reasons Martha's went. What I was seeing on the street was what not I like to see in a residential area, the type of clientele that were in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Sorry, I jumped.
Stuart, go first.
Stuart, go.
Thank you. And Mr. Riswell, thank you very much for coming along today, and thank you for making such a thorough case. I think it's also quite encouraging that you're willing to engage with the residents, and thank you for that.
Wholeheartedly.
I do have a few questions which are mostly just for clarification or scene setting, so I'm just going to crack on. They might be in a weird order, but you mentioned that you're a sound engineer. Could you explain slightly, 'cause I have a sort of layman's understanding of how sound waves work, particularly when it comes to sound waves in a bass register, and it's not necessarily that the amplitude is what causes them to transmit, but maybe the frequency. And obviously the frequency of bass waves might have a tendency to travel more through a building than those of a higher register. Is that accurate, or...?
Yes, because they're a lower frequency, so lower frequencies travel further. So high frequencies like your mobiles don't tend to travel as far, but low frequencies, that's why you hear the bass thud when you're driving down the road and another car goes past. That travels through objects more. But the speakers we have fitted in the bar, there's no bass option on them. They're standard speakers that you would have in your... They're JBL, they're good quality, but they're standard speakers that you would have in your house. So there's no breakout or method of turning up the bass to deliver that as a louder part of the music. So I couldn't turn up the drum and bass on a tune just because that came on. The sound setting is via the television, and the output from that is negligible. So you would need to install a very good bass speaker to generate bass noise.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say then that whatever bass noise the residents are hearing being transmitted is just the inherent bass that's part of whatever song happens to be playing at that time?
Yes, it's not amplified. It's not extracted and amplified more for effect. Yes.
I'm just going to have members ask the questions first, then I'll come to you. That's fine.
If there was a DJ in, there may be a bass speaker, but DJs are not late. DJs are not late. It's what we call ambient music that you normally put. Our ambient music is 11 o'clock Sunday to Friday and 12 o'clock on Saturday. 12 o'clock on Saturday, the live music has an hour extension on the licence. The rest of the week it's till 11 o'clock. And I think recently the government did away with the act where you needed a separate licence for live music. It's actually part of your premises licence now, isn't it, during your standard operating hours.
Fantastic, thank you. It's also great to hear that you've been proactive on public safety, particularly with the door staff. Just out of curiosity and just trying to understand who's where and when, in a normal working week, how frequently are you yourself present at the venue, and how often do you have people managing it on your behalf?
I will pop in socially on a Friday or a Saturday, if not every weekend, every other weekend. So I normally pop in anywhere between 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So I normally go out to the Fitzclarence, because where I had the bar for a couple of years, a lot of the clients that I used to have are actually friends now, so I socialise with them. So I'm in the area and I pop in, and I'll just say to Alexia, or his two bar managers are actually English. I would say to them, everything okay? How are things going? And so at the moment, yeah, no problems, and it's nice to know that we haven't seen any violence there in 6 months. We haven't seen any violence there. We haven't had any trouble. But noise, I want to get on top of what the concerns are and how we can address them. And even if they come in and monitor it themselves, or if they let me go in and monitor their flat, because proof is in the pudding, isn't it? If I see that, we can really work out a solution, even if it means noise limiting equipment. We can install something like this.
And actually, on that point, you mentioned that you have a device for measuring the decibel levels. Is that currently active and installed in the bar and monitored on a regular basis?
It's not actively installed. It's a handheld device. So the reason I got that was to make sure that we weren't 10 dBs louder outside with the music on, because that was one of the criteria I'd read online with the government. I think that it's with no music and then your music on, you shouldn't have changed the noise ambiently outside by more than 10 dB. So I used to regularly do that when we had entertainment in, to go in and check.
Just wanted to touch on complaint management, because obviously Samantha mentioned residents coming down and saying they've complained. Obviously, I don't have the residents here, and obviously I'm aware that you're not there all the time. Do you have anything now in place that if a resident does come down, that you can kind of have this noted, so at least you can kind of act upon it?
No, but I'll make a log. For example, I'll exchange details with Sam. So personally, I'll keep a log, but I'll make sure there's one at the venue along with the accident and, you know, the shift roster. And also, as I said, they can contact me personally, and I'll open up a engagement with yourself. But I do speak to Robin regularly, you know, who is Caution Properties.
And do you have a sign out the front that says, you know, patrons, please be quiet, there's residents above?
Yes, there was. I'll check that there is, but there was. There was a sign on the left column. No, is it gone? It's gone. It'll go back up. There was one there, so there'll be one up. What are we today? Monday. There'll be one up by Wednesday. I'll order one today off of Amazon. It's that quick, and I'll get one. It's the quickest place. They'll be on the left and right pillars. Please refrain from making noise. Respect, and also glasses. It's the same sign I had before. Sorry, I didn't realise that had gone into refurbishment. I do apologise for that.
Councillor Hunt, do you have any? Go for it.
But I believe they're still up inside. They're still up inside.
All right then, Mr. Drysdale. So you are the licence holder?
That's correct, yes.
And you're also the designated premises supervisor?
Yes. And also Alexia's bar manager will have signed the sheet there as well. The bar staff.
Sure. You said just now you go in a couple of times a week. Do you think that's enough?
It's open Friday or Saturday. I'm in there at least one of the days of those two. So I'm in there 50% of the opening time. I could most probably be in there more, but I will be going forward because of the nature of the concern of the residents, and if I feel it's running smoothly, I'll step back a bit more.
Sure. And you told us too you got rid of as one of the guys that you were subletting to because that person wasn't dealing with the issue around noise. How wasn't he dealing with the issue around noise? What was he supposed to do to prevent the noise?
It wasn't so much noise, it was people congregating outside. So in the summer they'll put some tables outside for people to sit outside because part of the premises is licensed to about 2 or 3 paving slabs outside. So in the summer people like the cafe environment, they'll sit outside, tend to do that during the day, bring the tables in at 9 o'clock. I found, and we would put one table out for people to smoke at night. But when I was passing the bar or going in, there'd be 10 or 15 people out there constantly drink, you know, with a glass. And I said, they can go out to smoke, they can't go out to drink. Because encouraging them to go out to drink means more people come out. If you're encouraging them to go out just to smoke, they're out there for the duration of the cigarette or the vape, and then they're back in. So I found that was a good way of keeping ambient noise outside down, because and that stopped attracting other people passing by, because sometimes it actually causes trouble. People are passing, barging each other. So and he wouldn't adhere to that constantly. So in the end, just terminated the agreement we had. That was on the 19th of March. 19th of May. 19th of May.
All right. You also said here on the record that normally alcohol stops at 2:30. What do you mean by that? Because it's supposed to stop at 2:30. You said normally it stops at 2:30. Is there anything behind that?
No, it had a tens. It had a tens. So on the 31st and the 1st. So that was it. So normally, to my knowledge, it should not be served after 2:30 if I'm not there. But I've always seen when I'm in there, it's closed at 2:30, and people are leaving within the allotted drinking up time. And the EPOS system would prove if things were being sold after 2:30.
Yeah, indeed, I accept that. I wanted to clarify it. Now, look, in these statements here, it's not just one person that's come downstairs. There's Mr. Charles Birch has come down, and so has Victoria Killian, who says she went down to speak. From what I can make out in these submissions here, it's not necessarily the noise outside, it is the vibration through the building. And I accept fully, on face value, what you've said about the noise attenuation and the description that you have given about the all the work that you've done at considerable expense. I accept all of that to try and stop it. But despite what you say, on the 13th of June, a noise abatement order was served on Cagaper Limited. Why, Mr. Drysdale, did you then dissolve the company within 4 weeks?
It was not dissolved by me personally, so I was using an accountant in the Midlands, and the accountant on submission of my yearly returns then, which would have been me personally, and that as a business, because I have to do both, because it's income from the bar potentially. He chose no longer to pursue this line of business, and he's moved on to more commercial businesses. So the company was dissolved because of accounts. Accounts weren't submitted. But I still view...
I beg your pardon, sir, I'm sorry. Just pointed out to me this a year later. I'm so sorry. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, so it wasn't done on purpose or anything to do with that. It was nothing underhand. The two are not related, in my opinion. It was not dissolved because of that.
I accept that, sir. Thank you very much indeed. On the noise officers, when you said that Lorraine had come along and she told you that it was too loud, you said you didn't argue with her, you weren't debating it with her, and you said to her do you understand that when a noise officer, environmental health officer comes along, they come to witness noise. That is what they're there to do, to witness the noise, and that is then creates a statutory noise complaint.
Yes, so when I say I didn't argue, when I spoke...
I'm not really worried about the arguing or not.
No.
The officer being there is there to witness a statutory, to gather evidence to create towards a statutory noise complaint.
Yes. So when Lorraine came along, she said she's had a complaint of noise, but she has no evidence. So I didn't argue that there was no evidence. And the reason she's not here today, I've spoken to her at length, is because she has no evidence against any of these complaints.
I don't know anything about that, sir. I'm terribly sorry. The officers can tell us about that a bit later on. What you did say is that you were told by her that it was, or one of them, you said it on the record, that the noise was loud, and that she told you when you had the discussion with her that you said, well, tell me what the decibel level should be, etc., and what it should be. And she said, I'm standing here now, and you said that she said it is loud and I can hear it here and now.
Yes, so that was that was previously. That was not Lorraine. So that was a number of years ago. And the lady turned up. She said, "I'm being told that the music's loud." I said, "From where is it loud? Is it above or is it on the street?" And at that time, it was actually down towards the seafront. So in front of the bar, there's a small road, and there's some houses on the seafront. And they said there was someone down there saying that they could hear the music from the bar. So I went outside with her and I went across the road, and I said, "Is this loud to you?" And she said, "Well, the person's saying it's loud." And I said, "But is it loud to you?" And she said, "Not here." And we went back into the bar, and we stood outside the bar, and that is as far as the conversation went. And then I said, "Can you tell me what the level is, and I'll try and conform to the level?" And she said, "Well, I'm just using my ears." And I said, and I wasn't being argumentative. I said, "That's subjective because everyone has different levels of hearing. That is, sorry."
Well, they do use their ears. That's their role. Can I ask you then, because we don't know what was said between you. None of us were there, and the officers aren't here now. But what I can see is you've had a lot of visits from noise officers, but the issue hasn't gone away. Why is that, do you think?
It's a bar. I mean, I can hear other bars from in front of my bar. If you go to Tesco's in Palmerston.
I'm awfully sorry.
So-
We're not talking about other bars, sir.
Yes.
We're talking about your bar, and you've had a lot of visits here from noise officers. Why do you think you're getting so many of these visits?
The first visits would have been when the venue first opened up and I was learning the business. The second one was when I handed it over to Adam Stevenson and he was removed because he just wasn't adhering. And now Alexio's in there, the residents above. I did read that one of the residents said, because the bar was closed from May till August, and when they moved in there was no bar, so for them there was a sudden change. It was the same when I opened the bar. It was quite a change for people there because we weren't long out of COVID. So the area had been quiet for a while, you know, and so I feel some of the complaints here have been because the bar was closed for 3 months and then it was open again. So it was a total change in the normal standings in the area, you know. They would have just been used to buses and cars going past and not so much music from in such close proximity to them.
All right then.
Maybe.
So you've told us about a number of people that you've sublet to, so been running this place, including you and people you've subletted to. So across that time, from 10th of January 22 to the 3rd of February 25, despite subletting or whoever's been in the premises, the noise has continued to go on. Why is that, Mr. Drysdale? Because it's not the people that you're letting or subletting to, or yourself. The noise complaints have continued across all of that.
Yeah. So in the first year, 22, it was on 4 occasions. So it was on 4 occasions in a calendar year. 11th, 23rd, 27th. So on 4 occasions. Date complaint closed or date complaint received.
I get all that.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
I get all that.
Sorry, sir. I'm looking. I'm
Why are
trying
there
to understand
18?
that.
The question I'm asking
I'm
is
not
why.
disputing your number.
Sure. What I want to understand, and I'm sorry you're on the spot, but what I need to understand is why across all those various different licensed premises holder, yourself and so on, despite all the things that you've done, despite all the stuff you put up in the ceiling, despite talking to residents, despite all of these things, and the environmental health officers coming to see you, it goes on and on and on. Why is that, sir?
Noise is a byproduct of the industry. It is a byproduct of the industry. There's no justification for it. There's no justification for it at all. Taking steps to improve the management of this, and I've after speaking at length with Lorraine recently, that's why I've investigated a noise sort of suppression device, which just, you know.
I'm really sorry. What is a noise suppression device?
You fit a device in line with the speakers, and if they pick up a noise at a certain level, they immediately cut power to the speakers, and you have to do a full reset to bring them back on.
All right.
It's a noise management system, and they're used in entertainment facilities.
I want your business to continue if it can.
Yes, sir.
And I want the residents to be happy too.
Yes.
So why, Mr. Drysdale, we got to this position where we're doing a review of your premises when you could have put this mitigation device in a while back? Why didn't you do it back then? How much, for instance, I beg your pardon, I know it costs a lot of money.
It's a few £1,000s. Everything's thousands
Indeed.
of pounds.
I sincerely get that, but you're being reviewed today.
Yes, sir.
And I understand all of that. So why has it not happened until now, or you're proposing it now in front of us today?
I removed Adam in May. Alexio came in August. I've had three notifications from Lorraine, myself, I believe, saying that there's been a noise complaint, but she has no evidence, so there's no further, and her words were, there's no further action required. So the communication to the bar has been, make sure you're on top of noise, because there has been a complaint, but there's no evidence, so make sure you're on top of it. And I was not aware of the level until I've seen these statements of intrusion or felt intrusion from the people above. And that's why I immediately said to Sam, it's the first time I've ever met Sam and spoke to her, I would like to engage with them and not get to this stage ever again.
Look, you know, if I'd have had 18 visits from Environment Health Officer telling me that I had a noise issue, I would have been wanting to get on top of it quick before I got hauled in.
I felt we have at each stage of that. I felt from 2022, when I handed it over to Adam,
Yeah.
it was in a much better place. There'd been no complaints for a long time, and we were on top of it. Then Adam came in and the complaints came, so he went. Alexio's in. There's been some complaints. I don't feel that the problems are anywhere near as severe as they were with Adam, and I'm sure there's some resolution that we can come to this with the people that live there, if licensed and willing, and I'm also willing to have the licence reviewed to show that I'm cooperating fully and trying to alleviate any of the concerns with the people that live there, work with them going forward. Work with them going forward.
All right, I know, Councillor...
I'm sorry, sir, I'm not interrupting you. I was not aware of this level of intrusion. Honestly, I swear, I was not aware of that, and I was not aware there were so many, because for this level of intrusion, I would have expected a lot more complaints. I'm not being facetious at all. There's only 2 or 3 real complaints since Alexio and Mario have been in the bar. And I don't see those complaints tied to this. So for me, there's a lack of communication, and I wasn't aware of the nature of this, because the statements were not communicated to me via the environmental health or the people above in this manner. I was not aware of it. Alexio was not aware of that level of ill feeling.
Right.
And we don't like that.
I know the chair wants to come and talk, but I've got a line of inquiry here. So the latest version of the bar is what? Soul Bar?
It's Soul Bar at Paul's. It's still
But
at
here in
Paul's.
the statements you're talking about, people are saying that it's got worse again since Soul has been going. If you read the statements, that's what some of them say. They say it's got worse.
And I'm not disputing the statements, but what I'm saying is what I did find hard to believe, if that level of bass, because the structure hasn't changed, if that level of bass is present in the building upstairs, it would be unbearable in the bar. It would be unbearable.
I heard you say that, and I understand what you're saying. Lastly then, before the chair comes back in, so we've got a premises licence goes on till 3 o'clock in the morning. Is that correct? 7 days a week?
Yeah, it's licensed till 7 days a week, 3 a.m. for food,
And
2:30 for alcohol.
Sure. You have offered up last orders at 10:30 during the week, presumably Monday to Thursday.
Sunday to Thursday.
Sunday to Thursday, finishing at 10:30 and 11 p.m. closing.
Yes.
That's what you're offering us to change the premises licence. Am I correct?
I think that's fair in line with the other bars, and I think 2 a.m. would be fair Friday and Saturday.
2 a.m. on Fridays. What is that? Is that 1:30 last orders, or
People to leave at 2 a.m. You know, so if they have last orders at 1:30, they should be out of the premises by 2:15. You have to allow them a little bit of time to drink up and go to use the facilities, the toilets.
I'm very
And
grateful.
no alcohol served after the last orders.
All right. I'm very grateful, sir, for your being candid and honest.
I have no reason to be other.
Stuart, sorry, I needed a minute then. Would you like to go?
Thanks. I'm going to come back to the line of inquiry around opening hours, because I want to just explore the area that your bar is operating in a little bit more. But before I do, I have a question that actually goes back to my previous question about the sound waves, which I forgot to ask at the time. So you mentioned that you'd installed various different types of soundproofing and air gapping in the space between your ceiling and the floor of the flat above. Would those particular types of soundproofing materials be effective at blocking the longer frequency bass waves from whatever ambient music was playing at the time?
Yes, they should inhibit them. They are a force of attenuation, so it's like putting your hand over your ear. It would inhibit them. It would inhibit them greatly,
And
especially the air gap.
Yeah.
The others are physical, but the air gap is one of the best ones.
yeah, because
'Cause
obviously an air gap is much
'cause-
closer to being a vacuum, and
'cause-
sound cannot travel through a vacuum.
Yeah, that stops direct
Yeah.
vibration.
Yeah, and I think just for clarification for everyone's benefit, it's probably worth saying that without any separate form of artificial amplification, in order to get the level of bass that's being described, the core volume of what's being played is the only thing that you could turn up, and it would be physically uncomfortable to be in the bar in order to generate that volume of bass without separate amplification.
It would be painful. It would be painful, yes.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the hours then, and I've just done a quick search online because I'm not familiar with the bars on Osborne Road. It's not a part of the city that I get down to particularly often. But I've just had a quick look between your bar and the Palmerston Road corner. I found 4 other bars on Osborne Road, which is Hive, Rapscallions, Shenanigans, and the Fitzclarence. If there are others, they're not showing up on my Google search at the moment. And I've just had a quick look at the opening hours that they have listed online. I appreciate these may not be entirely accurate because I've had a look at Soul Bar's opening hours online and they don't match up with what you've told us your current opening hours are. So it might just be that your Google listing is out of date. I appreciate that does happen.
Google's a good 2 years out of date.
Yeah. But for Hive, they're listing Wednesdays and Thursdays are 1:30 closure, Fridays and Saturdays are 2:30 closure, Sundays 9 p.m. Rapscallions, it's Mondays to Thursdays 1 a.m, Fridays and Saturdays 2, Sundays 12:30. Shenanigans, Wednesdays 11, Thursday to Saturday 1 a.m, Sundays 11 p.m, Fitzclarence 11 p.m, Monday to Thursday, and 3 a.m, Friday to Sunday. So yours is not the only venue on the road that has a 3 a.m. licence, although it is unusual. It's just yours and the Fitzclarence. And there does seem to be a sort of an average closing time at weekends between 1 and 2 a.m. So I think some sort of mitigation on the opening hours would probably be appropriate. But I think we also need to have a look at, I think, just getting a bit more solid evidence so that we can say one way or the other what the actual ambient noise is. I appreciate you have a day job and you have other priorities, but from what you've described, it doesn't sound like you're often there at the 3 a.m. close. And obviously a lot of the complaints we're hearing from the residents are referring to 3 a.m. or later. So I have no idea what happens in your bar, but it's entirely possible that after you've left, they might then turn the music up afterwards. Now, I'm not saying that is happening, but it's obviously a possibility that without any evidence one way or the other, we can't tell.
I would find it unlikely known the nature of the people, knowing the nature of the people. They're honest people, and they've worked for Alexio for years, so they work in his other businesses. So if they're playing in one business, they won't be working in another business. It's just, because he's a responsible employer.
So do the staff do shifts at various different venues at different times of the week, or are they exclusive to your venue?
During the week, they'll work in his restaurant.
One is exclusive, another one is work for me in the other business as well. And Robbie, that during the end of the year, I've been the most of Fridays and Saturdays myself to close. And it's like, I can say, I just saw one time the complaint story from them. That's what I was aware and I communicate to him. I was aware of all these relevant things till I see the paper in the wall. And after the closing times, they play sounds in the phone. That's what I can guarantee to you, and anyone can go there after 3. The speakers is not on anymore. While they clean it, the sound displays over the mobile phone.
I think you've got a phone that might be possibly near your speaker. It's just giving us a bit of background noise. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's. I've been there most of the nights when Paul wasn't there, over the end of the year, and after 3 o'clock, it's mostly time because we have Bogart. We take people out 3 o'clock. Nicely, we request them. We say when you sell the drink, and by 3 o'clock, it's empty the place, because before the bodyguard finish his shift, he's asking people to leave, and the sound displays on the phone.
And I think it's fair to say I would find it quite difficult to believe that staff who are working in one venue with no problems would be causing problems in a different venue. So it's good to know that there is a crossover of the staff between the multiple venues.
And the Rocca restaurant, which I manage as well, yeah?
Perfect. I'm opening this question up. Who submitted the noise? Do we know what officer submitted this?
Yeah, Sam, as part of the review, made a request to Environmental Health, just asking how much engagement have you had in relation to these premises. They've supplied that to Sam, and then Sam sent it to us as part of our review application.
And have we asked Environmental Health to comment on this, seeing as it's in the papers?
Environmental Health were made aware, obviously, that there was a review, and as Paul has said, statutory noise nuisance is an evidence-based, where they can actually present what decibel readings are, etc., etc. And it's fair to say that Lorraine, who's the lead person in relation to this, has said, currently we do not have a statutory noise nuisance that we can go before a committee and say that it's a statutory noise nuisance. The noise abatement, as you've heard, was served, and that can no longer be enforced anyway because it was served in the company name and that company doesn't exist.
Because there's been a mention of the noise abatement, I was expecting it to have been in the report because it's been mentioned. Is there a reason that was left out? I know it can't be enforced, but it's been mentioned that a noise abatement notice was served, so I would have expected to have seen that letter in this report.
What, the actual noise abatement letter?
That would probably come from Environmental Health if they had made a representation. Unfortunately, they haven't, so you haven't got that.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the lack of information on this. I appreciate, obviously, you've had to submit it, but loud music, it's what decibels, it's just not, there's not, I would have expected a bit more information and detail on this, apart from loud music. What loud music? What's the decibels? Paul, did you find out what decibels you needed to finally set it as?
No, as I said, I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was the manager of the environmental department at that time. It's now Lorraine, and he came to the premises and he said had complaint of noise, and I said, can you tell me what the dB level is? And he said, not at the moment. I said, can you give me a figure, and I will promise you that I'll adhere to the figure. I said, a figure inside or outside, either. I will make sure. He said, I'll give that to you in writing. The writing was a noise abatement order.
So still to this date, you have no idea what level they'd like it to
No,
be
and I've
set
asked
at?
countless times. I've asked countless times.
Fine.
I'm trying. I'm trying because with a figure I can work. Because if you bring 3 people and stand them outside, you're going to get 3 different noise figures from 3 different people. That's what I would feel. But from a dB level, I don't know if it's in their remit, but from a dB level, I can conform to that 100%, and I can put measures in that make sure that that's adhered to. And also, I would say a lot of the music in there on the television is streamed. So even though the volume's set, I don't know if yourself, maybe you're watching MTV, your TV's on the same volume, it switches to the advert, suddenly it becomes louder, but you haven't changed anything, or the video becomes louder. So with a figure, it's a lot easier to manage.
Perfect, thank you. Members, any more questions?
May I?
Yeah.
For the legal officer and for Mr. Stone, I mean, going back to this complaint on pride, loud music, noise abatement order served on Gagapa on 28/11/23. Just for clarification, does that mean that the statutory noise nuisance was established in order to serve a noise abatement notice upon them?
Yes, they would have had evidence of statutory noise nuisance.
Thank you. And if it had gone on, obviously there might have been a penalty.
And if there are further complaints that had witnessed a breach of that notice, then yeah, they would have continued prosecution potentially.
Members, any more questions?
Just have to double check.
That's all right. Yeah, Stuart.
Just to clarify on timelines, what dates did Alexio and, was it his business partner, start managing the business for you?
I believe it was the last weekend of August, so you opened on the Saturday, was it the 29th? I think it was
Of which year, please?
Of this year.
Last year.
August
2024.
August 2024.
24,
Right.
so it closed on the 19th of May. Adam was on the 19th of May. There was a
So May 24.
refurbishment in August, and it opened on the last Saturday in August.
So 19th of May, your previous sublessee was kicked out.
Yes.
2 days later, there was a complaint.
I'll have,
There was a complaint received on the 21st of May.
I'll have to look at the date. So, I'll just look at my phone. I can look at the date that kicked them out. I have it in WhatsApp.
Sure.
Because maybe I've given you the wrong date. Maybe it's just 2-3 days out. So we get to where-
That's fine.
That's all right, we'll give you a few
And
minutes.
obviously then there's a gap of a few months until the next complaint, which would be the time that it was closed. Yeah.
Adam was kicked out at the end of May, and no one was operating that bar. Just find where he is. Here he is.
And then
Would you, sorry, Chair, would you ask him just to switch his thing on so that it's
Oh, yeah.
recorded?
Sorry, sir. The bar was boarded on the 19th of May, so I don't know what the noise complaint would have been, but there was absolutely no alcohol sold in that bar from the 19th of May.
well, on page 15 of the document pack, it says that on the 21st of May,
I'm seeing that.
there was a complaint about loud music, karaoke, and noise from customers.
Yes, that's the.
Whether that related to an
the
event prior to
the
that
19th
day.
was a Sunday. That would have been received on a Tuesday. It could have been an historic complaint, i.e.
Yeah.
from Friday or
Referring to
something.
previous
But
Friday.
I assure
Fine.
you, the bar was closed. Sunday it did not open on
Tracy,
the 19th.
did you want to come up?
We can only say by the summary that the complaint was received, so we don't know when it actually happened.
Received on that date, but could be referring to an incident on a prior date. Fine. And I'm willing to accept it's close enough to the closure date that it could be, yeah, no problem at all.
Same weekend.
Yeah. And only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 complaints since the new manager's taken over.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at each point, sorry to interject there, Lorraine has contacted us and said there's been a noise complaint, but I have no evidence. And we've said, be on top of things. Yeah, and that's why the noise abatement order would not have been enforced, because, sorry, when it's been served, and then there's an enforcement. The enforcement is you've broken the rules and you go to court. It would not have been enforced because there was never any evidence.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit confused here because we have established with the legal advice that statutory noise nuisance was established, but it's because the company got dissolved, or within that time there was no breach.
No, sir. Sorry. The legal team will get it. I had been served a notice. As far as I'm concerned, it's a personal notice as well. It was removed when it was served. They said if there's no further breach, we may remove it in 2 years. That was a discussion I had with the environmental team. If there was no further breach, a breach is when they attend and they find physical noise. Then they enforce the order, and you go to court. But with the complaints, there was never any evidence, so nothing was ever enforced. That's what I was saying, sir.
Lastly then, right, Mrs Drysdale I'm going to ask you this question. Everything you do so far to me looks like lastminute.com. Do you really think that you're in control of these premises and that the people you're subleasing to are appropriate to have a license and open in this way? Because the evidence is pretty overwhelming that there's a lot of noise going on. Do you think you're in control?
The ultimate control would be a noise limiting device.
I'm ever so sorry, Mr. Drysdale. I said, do you think you are in control of what's going on those premises?
I'm not there 27, so I'm not fully in control, as most business owners aren't. But I have procedures and policies that you expect staff to adhere to. I feel they have adhered to them in the majority of places. They're not using the equipment outside of its remit. I don't feel that they are open late. There's no evidence to suggest to me that they're open late. There's no cells going through. They're not hiding any cells. I will be there more proactively going forward. I'm more akin to actually kind of working there. I'll be around at the weekends. I'll be around at the weekends because, you know, I'm at work at 7 normally Monday in Southampton in the morning. So I will be around at the weekends, and I'll make sure I'm around at the weekends. And it's a responsibility I have to bear. It's mine alone.
All right, thank you very much.
I'm just going to jump in, just for Councillor Hunt, in case you've missed it. They were served a noise abatement notice, and they didn't close for over a year after. There was 4 complaints, and they clearly weren't enough for them to carry on with the noise abatement notice.
So
it's
what I was interested in, the noise had been established.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just with the lack of information on here and Lorraine not being here, it's hard to.
I completely
use this.
agree, but I think Mr. Stone said that they're not making any representations.
Yeah,
although
so that's how I'm going to use
I
it.
would have expected a paragraph in
From them, yeah.
in the report, since it was bound
as it was
to come
included.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Chair, it's fair to say that the fact that they haven't made a representation is telling in and of itself.
Samantha, do you have any questions for Paul?
The only question that I had was when you were talking about the equipment and you said about the speakers and where they were located. Obviously, if there's live music and karaoke, then is different equipment being used on those occasions, because that could account for the vibration that the tenants are experiencing?
Yes, so if we were to say these tables are the structure of the bar, roughly where you're sitting, there's a kind of a cut-in, and that's the stairs to apartments to the second floor and third floor. The stairs in the corridor here are to the ones directly above. That's a wall adjoining outside. So the speakers are roughly where there's one round about here, which is mounted off a wall on a shelf with soundproofing on the shelf. There's one where the projector is mounted on a shelf with soundproofing, and there are 2 on a central column that come off on metal bars, and they have a bit of padding, and they're mounted there. Then when the DJs come in, if they do, they're in an alcove roughly there, which is opposite the stairs, and they have a feed into the speakers if they're not using their own speakers. Most of the time, they just use an AV feed into the speakers because it's easier to switch across the media from the bar to them at the same time.
I just wanted to establish it was the same speakers, yeah.
Yeah, so we've extended AV feeds to where any live music could be, whether it's a DJ or a singer.
Okay.
And then they can go into the the speakers within the bar.
Any more? No. Members, any more? Derek, do you have any questions for? No? Perfect. Right, we'll move into summing up. Would you like to sum up for us, please, Samantha? If there's anything else you want to add, last minute words.
I think all I would add is, from what Paul said, I think the tenants would also be happy with the proposed hours that he's suggested. They've never argued the fact there was a bar downstairs. It was the hours that were the main issue. And also, as much as they've mentioned noise, it's been more an issue with the vibration that has actually been causing the problem. So I do think the proposed hours would make a big difference to them. I think, yeah, I don't think I've got anything more to say.
Thank you. And then I'm going to move. I'm going to get you to sum up now. Anyway.
So I'd just like to say that I promise full engagement with the people above there. You know, I did when I was in there previously. There were mainly girls in there, and they used to come in. They used to frequent the place quite frequently. They've left university now, and they're working. Some of them still come in. So, you know, it was quite a pleasant environment for them, you know, and we kind of looked after them, their safety when they're in there. Also, something you alleviated before, the flats above, I've been into the flat previously because in your statement, I chose not to lease it. I chose not to lease it because it was somewhere I couldn't live. It is quite threadbare. The carpet is threadbare straight onto the floorboards. So, you know, there's nothing in there to stop any sound travelling unless it's been refurbed since then, you know.
Yeah, we have
And I understand it. It's all cost, and I understand that.
Yeah, the underlay and new carpet has been fitted.
Because previously I don't think there was any.
Perfect. I'm just going to direct it for Paul just to do your summing up, please. Thank you.
So summing up, full engagement with the residents and Sam. I already engage with Robin, who's Cosham Properties, who is the landlord, and he's happy with the way I run things there, and he explains to people there they do live above a bar, so there will be what would be called a little bit of noise of people coming and going, but there should be nothing untoward, and I don't want anything untoward. Adjusting the licence and hours, you know, to keep it going as a business, because it does employ people directly and wider in the community. Not only does it employ people, it's a social place where lots of people go to meet that don't necessarily have that remit to meet outside, and it has become very popular. I'm known in the area now because of this. This isn't about me. I'm quite liked. My previous clients, they discover they span a generations. I still meet them and frequent there. They're actually friends now. So I feel it's been a positive place for the community in the years that it's been open, and I still feel that it can add value to the community going forward. Other than that, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
No problem. I have to ask, are all parties satisfied and said everything they need to?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Can I ask one question? Sorry. I want to be absolutely clear about what it is the offer you've made today around the closing over the weekend. My understanding is, and Mr. Stone made a note, is that you're saying 1:30 for the end of alcohol sales, 2 o'clock, everybody is out of the premises. Is that correct?
I would say 1:30 for them to stop drinking. That's it. So the last drink is served at 1:30. Normally it's before that, actually.
Yeah.
1:30.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the legal requirements, but I tend to allow them about 45 minutes to drink up. So,
well, perhaps
I would have said, I would have said 2 o'clock. All the music goes off. That's it, closed. They might be in there for 10 or 15 minutes, just using the toilet, the last sup up of the drink, and leave. Yeah. I think that's standard.
We'll have to see what the officers say, but music on to 2 o'clock seems to me to be one of the problems. It's an hour earlier. So I thought you were saying 1:30, everything was shut down. And then, because we know that we have to have staggered closing nowadays, you do things gradually to get people to move on and move out and so on. So that's the sort of theme that I was going for. Anyway, we'll see in a discussion what happens.
Paul, do you have any final words? Sorry, just...
No, not for myself, thank you.
Sure?
No, but I'd like to take advice from licensing on the closing, but I felt that's how we've managed it before, and you've been in yourself on a few occasions, I know.
There isn't. Many years ago, there used to be your drinking up times, and that was included in your licence. But generally speaking, there is a wind down period depending on the sort of venue. Nightclubs tend to shut, and give a half an hour wind down for finishing their drinks. It wouldn't be unreasonable to stop serving alcohol, last drinks at 1:30 and perhaps close at 2:15, whatever the committee decides, really. I can't help you any further than that.
Perfect. So I will just double check. Is everyone satisfied with everything they wanted to say? Yeah. Perfect. Now, I'm not used to dealing with Tracy. I know how long Ben takes. How long do you need so I can kind of gauge? Yes, that's what I mean. Before we go into closed session, how long would you say? An hour?
It's difficult to. It depends how long you're going to be deliberating for. Really, I don't think it's going to take me too long to
Fine.
arrive at a decision.
We've got virtually a proposition from him.
Perfect. So, should we say 1:20? We won't be back before, but we might, if you want to start hanging around then, and we might be ready to come back.
Should we make it 1:30?
1:30?
And
Yes,
have
fine.
a short comfort break before
Perfect.
we start
Is
the-
1:30 okay with everyone? Yeah. As usual, if you see us, you can't talk to us. We're not being rude. We're just not allowed to talk to you. Okay. And we will see you around 1:30. Back here. Yes. Thank you.